but this is for any one of you. In your written statement, you identified that auditors found noncompliance with IT controls to be an issue. You cite that remediation actions have focused on the accreditation processes for these systems, yet in reality, these are typically one-time activities that are then valid for several years. Your stated course of action does not address the human aspect of this noncompliance. So, why are administrators throughout the enterprise not removing users' access when they leave an organization? Are administrators receiving additional training or losing their privileges? This is a huge vulnerability that our adversaries can and most likely have exploited.
I'll take that one on first because, you know, I'll tell you, I even had a false sense of security. We implemented a brand new ERP across the Department of the Army and GFIBs, and the control mechanisms, and we had documented as to what folks needed to do in terms of access controls. But again, the human in the loop wasn't enforcing it. So we brought folks together and we found out what was wrong, and we're now identifying both the further controls to ensure it's being done properly. And we found not only had that not been done inside of that ERP, the feeder systems. So when we talked earlier about having multiple findings, we had 290 findings in the Army. Of the findings, 32% of our findings from the audit of an SBA dealt with systems. So many of those were duplicates across. And so we have to go through and now start putting in the regular checks to make sure folks are in fact clearing people out when they out process. Many of those are manual processes that individuals have to make sure they're done. But some of those are just making sure, again, that their standard processes are understood, they're being held accountable for those, and that who has to hold those folks accountable. And so we're putting a re-emphasis focus on those. Those many of the control mechanisms that we talk about that are being violated when the auditors came through.
I would just add 4 points. We are, in fact, removing access in those cases where we find that it is necessary and required. I would just echo your concern about the exploitability of this problem, and it is imperative that we get it fixed at every turn. We're standardizing our SOPs and requiring adherence to those SOPs. And then the final point I would make is that in every case, we are holding a flag officer or an SES career civilian accountable for the correction.
And as a follow-up, although I'll wait back, I'll stand back and wait, Mr. Aguilera or Mr. McCord, if you have something to add, and then I have a follow-up.
I would just echo the comments. We're pursuing a lot of the same policies.
Okay.
Not all of them have to do with, not all of those notice of findings and recommendations have to do with ghost employees that are still logging onto systems. Also things like the person, separation of duties, the person who enters an obligation isn't the same person that approves the obligation. So we're taking steps in those arenas as well.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. McCord, do you have anything to add?
No, not on this one.
Okay, and then my follow-up question then is, did you find any of the departments more susceptible to this kind of lack of compliance or not? Are you able to comment on that? Or was it the same across the board?
The IT issues were pretty similar across the three. It was a major finding in every case.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Johnson.